everyone, it's Nicole, and I'm here with a different kind of haul again, non-scrappy. But I had a few people say on my Facebook group that they really enjoyed the last one because it gave them some ideas for some books to read. And I think a lot of scrappy people also read a lot. So I'll just do this quickly, and I'll give you maybe a little bit of each book. The first batch is from Chapters online, and so most of these were on sale, but not really good sale. But the rest are from bookoutlet.ca, and there the books are like $3 to $5 is the most that I've paid for some. And I usually try to get the scratch and dent if I can, and then it's like super cheap. But this one here I really want to get because I had just read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I got totally hooked on the retelling stories, okay? So I heard that this one here, Cruel Beauty, from Rosamund Hodge, was also a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And as you can tell, I'm reading it right now, and it's awesome. I love it. And so that's the first book. This is another retelling. I'm totally into the retelling. This is a retelling of 1001 Nights. This is called The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Hadi. And so this is where a king takes a wife every night, and by morning she's dead. And then a girl volunteers to be the bride to avenge her friend's death. So that sounds really good. Again, it's a retelling. This is a trilogy. And that one I got at Chapters, the selection, because they didn't have it at bookoutlet.ca, but they had book number 3, and which I'll show a little later. So this is the selection from Kiera Cass, and it's just a contemporary book, and it's just a fun read, just fast read. So I thought I'd get it. There's 3 books, and this is book 1. Then this one is Jojo Moyes, and It's Me Before You. And it's going to be a movie soon, and it's about a lady that takes care of someone that's hurt. A quadriplegic, I think, or maybe a paraplegic. It doesn't say if he's paraplegic, but he's bound to a wheelchair. And everybody that I saw that read this said they loved it. They cried. So I'm going to make sure not to read that one at work because, you know, this is another retelling. This is a retelling of Snow White, and it's the Shadow Queen, C.J. Redwine. And I joined like a book club, and they're reading this book this month, so I'm going to be reading it this month. So I'm going to probably not this week, because this week I'm going to be joining in on a challenge, which is Kill That Saga, I think, and so I'm going to be reading some other books, but definitely in the month of March, I'm going to be reading that. So this, Daughter of Smoke and Bone from Laini Taylor, and I'm watching a lot of YouTube, people's favorite top 10 fantasy books, and our favorite top 15 all-time books, and this one came up over and over and over again. And so it's a trilogy. So I got all 3 books. The second one was at Book Outlet. So I got the first book and the last book at Chapters. And then, because I could get the second book for, like, I think I paid like $3 for this one. And the other 2, I think I paid $9 each. So still not too bad. So I got the trilogy, and I'm going to be reading that hopefully not too long from now, because it sounds really good. Now, the last time I got the first book, so now I got the second book. It's called Through the Ever Night. And now I'm just missing the third book. This is also a trilogy, and this is by Veronica Rossi. And it looks really interesting. I've had a few people tell me in the last video that this was a really good series. Now, this one, I didn't hear anybody talk about it, but I don't know if I can say her name. Lisa Papadimitriou, and it's Siren Storm, and it's about Sirens, and it was super cheap. I think it was like maybe $2, and it's like a really quick read. There's, well, it's 260 pages, but it's big writing, and I think I'm gonna read this pretty quickly, but it sounds good. Now this I got super cheap again because it was a scratch and dent, which there it is. There's a scratch. It's a little rip there. It's the second book in the trilogy. The first book is A Water Song, which I don't have, and it's by Amanda Hawking. But where this was like a couple dollars, I thought I'll get it. It sounded really interesting and sort of fantasy. I thought maybe this was the one that was mermaids or something. I can't remember. There was just so many that sounded really good, but that when I remembered when I read it, it sounded really good. This one is from Jodi Picoult. I say Jodi Picoult because that's in French. It's The Storyteller, and I really liked her last book. So, but look how little the writing is. Oof, that's going to take me a long time to read. I think it's got quite a few pages, almost 500, but the writing is super small. But it sounded good. Now this one is from Josephine Angelini. Now all these were all from Book Outlet, so super cheap. This one too is called Star-Crossed, and it's a fantasy book, I believe. I read the synopsis before I bought it, and it sounded really interesting. And again, it was just a few dollars. I think it was like $3. And then there's a second book to this. I don't know if it's a trilogy or there's really only 2 books, but I mean, the first line up there, it says, "Lie still or I will kill you." So yeah, sounds interesting. Now another retelling. Now this one I did get at Chapters. It must have gotten mixed up with the other ones. It's from Lisa Maxwell. It's another retelling, and it's of Captain Hook, Neverland. And so I'm looking forward to reading that. Like I said, I'm hooked on some retellings. I'm just going to move those aside. Now this is by Liba Bray. Again, this was super cheap at Book Outlet. It's called The Diviners. And it's got more than one book. I don't know if it's a trilogy, but I know there's a second book. And again, it sounded really interesting, so I got it. Now this one, these here is, I think there's 4, maybe 5 books, and they're about fairies, and I love that world too, like fantasy world. So I got the first and third book, and I think I have the 4th book coming. So I'm just waiting for the second book to show up at Book Outlet, and it's by Melissa Marr. So it's Wicked Lovely. The second one is Ink Exchange, which I don't have. The third one is Fragile Eternity, and then the 4th one is Radiant Shadows. And like I said, it's about fairies, so it sounded really good. And then this one here is called The Book of Ivy, and it's about, there's a nuclear war, and then she's supposed to marry the president's son, and she's supposed to kill him. That's her mission. But I'm sure something happens that she doesn't want to kill him. So that sounded really good, and I love the spine of the book. So here is the 3rd book in that trilogy of The Selection. And this one is called The One by Kiera Class. So the only one I'm missing is the Elite or Elite. Now this one, again, it was super cheap. It is the 3rd book in the series. And the first 2 is Cruel and something else, which they're on their way. And I hadn't noticed that they had them. And I got them for super cheap too. I think this one was a scratch and dent. And I paid like $3 for it. And look how beautiful this cover is. Now, the other 2 book I have coming is not in a hardbound cover. But that's okay. And you can tell whenever a book is from Book Outlet because they usually put a little mark on it. But that's not a big deal. Now, these few books, again, is from Chapters. I just forgot to show them a while ago. And this is a bunch of novellas, I believe. And it's from the Lunar Chronicles, and it's just little short stories, and they're all bound in this book, and it's called Stars Above. Now, I've already read Cinder, and so I'm going to keep reading the books. I don't have Winter yet, so I don't know. It's supposed to, it says next January, but the hardbound cover came out in November, so the paperback should be out in November. So we'll see. If I get into the world and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to know what's next, I'll just get the hardcover. I'll just get it. Now, this one is a standalone novel by Kiera Cass. It's called The Siren, and it sounded really interesting. Again, just a light read, a contemporary book. And this one, oh, I know a lot of people, there's a big buzz about this book. It just came out this week, March 8th, and it's Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, and it's a new series of Shadowhunters, and this time they're in Los Angeles. And I've just read the first one. I'm going to start the second one this week, and then I got to read all those. Then I got to read the Internal Devices. And then I got to read, there's novellas also that you should read before this. So yeah, I'm going to be reading for a bit before I get to this one. But it was super cheap. It was $20. It was half price. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to get it when it's super cheap. And it's a big book. And I love that the writing is huge. And there is almost 700 pages. 668. Okay. This says a long conversation, so I don't know. Turn to the page to read along a new story featuring Clary and the characters from Mortal Instruments. So I don't know if that's just a bonus thing, but yeah. And I think this is going to be a trilogy. So oh, I'm excited. I just love the Shadowhunters. I love the first book, and I can't wait to keep going on that. Now, I had bought last time P.S. I Love You by Jenny Han. So this is the first book, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. So again, a contemporary, just easy read. And this one is like a fantasy book. It's called Pure. And again, it's like, you know, the world is unrecognizable, so it just sounds like a good book. So, and that has a second book too. It's going to be a trilogy, and the next one is Fuse. And it looks like it's out already because it says available 2013. So, yeah. Now, this is from the Bloodline series from Richelle Mead. This is book 4, I think. And this is book 6. Yeah. Or this is book 5. This is book 6. And they were super cheap. They were only like $3 each. So I thought I would get them. A lot of people are saying they really, really like them. So I figured every time that they would just be on bookoutlet.ca, I'll just grab them as they get there. And then once I have them, I will read them all. Or if I get the first book, then I'll start reading them right away. This, I totally got the book because of his eyes. He's got awesome eyes. This is from Bridget Kemmerer, and it's called the Elemental series. Never heard of it before, but when I read the synopsis, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so good. And there's like 4 books, and then there's a bunch of novellas. And they only had this book at bookoutlet.ca. So I'll just have to keep stocking Book Outlet and getting, I guess the first book is called Storm. So I'll have to, and I don't even know if I'll have to do a little bit more research on it. I don't know if you have to read them in order. It might just be different characters in each book. So I'll do more research, and then if I have to wait for the first one, then I'll wait. And if not, I'll start reading them. Now, the last 2 books, I mean, look at the size of these guys. And I paid $5 each. That's it. They would be like, you know, $30 at chapters, you know. And this one is called The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is in the year 2059, and she's a dream walker, and she gets kidnapped, and I've heard really good things about it. So for $5, I mean, the price of the two of them is not even the price of a small little book, right? And the second book is the Mime Order. So I don't know if this is a trilogy or what, or if this is the end. Doesn't say. Let me see. Nowhere it says. Usually I go check at the end of the book, and then if there's another book, then it'll be there. It doesn't say. You know what I like is when they put, like this one has basically a glossary about what everything means. I love that. And sometimes they have how to say the words, like the names and stuff. I love that. And this one, it must be like quite elaborate, because it even gives you like a map, and then it gives you like the history, like the tree, the family tree, I guess. So it sounds really interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So I think I counted, and I might have been off by 1 or 2 books, but I think I had like 27 or 28 books. So it was a nice little book haul. And I had put my goal to be 12 books this year, because last year I only read 1 book all year. And I thought, well, if I read 1 book a month, I'll be happy, because it'll be 11 books more than I read this year. And this book here, we're March 12th today, this book here is book number 8. So I think I'm going to make my goal, and I think I'm going to surpass it by quite a bit. So that's it. That's my book haul for today. I still have a few books coming. Oh, one more thing. One thing I did get, because I figured I'm going to run out of room if I keep buying books, because they take up space. So I did get myself a Kindle. So now, and I started buying Welcome to the Shadowhunter Academy, and it's all novellas. There's 10 novellas, and so yeah. There we go. I'm not too familiar with it yet. I haven't played with it too much, but I got the first book. And I had bought To Kill a Mockingbird for my son last year, because he needed to read it for school. And then when I fired up my Kindle, it was just there, and I'm like, cool. So I have To Kill a Mockingbird that I totally forgot that I had bought. And I almost bought the physical book when I already have it here. And when I bought the Kindle, it kind of gave me a few books, the first few chapters to read. So Six of Crows was one of them. So anyway, I bought a case for it right away, and I really like it. It looks like the map of the world, and that's what I like, is when you read books, you get transported to another world. So I thought it was quite fitting. So that's it. That is my haul. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.